employees had to be Guyanese or must be Guyanese. Because we want to have skills transfer, technology transfer, right? That's one of the ways the Koreans and the Taiwanese, Singaporeans did it. Okay? So if you're going to take that risk, well, why not make sure that some part of it is done in Guyana? Or the way manufacturing is done today around the world is no longer agglomeration. Agglomeration means that you put together the whole thing in one place. Now, the way manufacturing is done around the world is through outsourcing, right? You have vendors, which gives you components, right? So, for a laptop, for example, this casing may have been built in Taiwan. The chip, of course, may come from Taiwan also, but electronic parts and so on come from China. Software in India, and everything goes together, is shipped around the world, and is fitted together in China. Well, those things are possible. Perhaps we could have could have enticed the Chinese to come here and have a Lenovo plant to fabricate computers, because this is the age of outsourcing and not agglomeration anymore, or even some part of a computer you can produce. So if we would have gone down that road, well, if the state is going to subsidize an implicit subsidy to a foreign company, well, at least let there be jobs out of it. Under the lines of change, any policy that is formulated, it must be a jobs implication. Okay, this is a guarantee we're going to make. There will be no elections gimmickry in our economic planning. We want to see people lift their living standards in a very short period of time. Okay, so our strategy then is jobs economics, not handout economics. Well, last night we were told in New Amsterdam that farmers throughout the quarantine coast were given free fertilizer. Elections closed, so farmers must have fertilizer. Why not do something that will guarantee farmers markets? Because perhaps the problem is not supply, it's demand. Let's guarantee the farmers market rather than just give them fertilizer a few months before the election. Now that's another example of handout economics. And handout economics is what I call taking the masses and maintaining the masses at just above subsistence level. Okay, where you have a certain percentage of the population become rich, but by and large, most people are just eking it out just above subsistence. And we got to put a stop to that, and we got to make sure that there's a business strategy that can get everyone lifted out from subsistence. There are other examples, but I'll move on. Of course, the hallmark of the locality development strategy, if you remember, and I wrote a column on this, was it forecasted that we can obtain each year as in perpetuity, $580 million US for not cutting our forests. Now, in theory, it's a good idea. I like the idea. But the minute I looked at world geopolitics and American politics and the way the Australians are operating, I knew it was dead on arrival. Okay, and so I would not have gone down that road, right? So of course, the $580 million will not be realized. Norway latched on and part of it and decided to give us $40 million per year for 5 years. And as you know, the World Bank is holding the money. I don't know why, but you may want to I pretty much think that you understand why. But it did not realize the forecast of incomes. And the thing is that most of this money would have been spent by a few individuals would have decided how to spend that money for the country. Assume we had received $580 million a year, US, for just not cutting the forest. Well, to be fair, to have a very low deforestation rate. Okay, that was what the whole of carbon development strategy was premised on. Okay. Now, we need to. I need to tell you a little bit about some specific policies we have in the Life Change, but the action plan is a lot more comprehensive. We need to give people some immediate relief. We believe one of the things that we plan to do is cut the VAT because people will be traveling this country and people are really burdened by it. We believe we must cut profit tax. And we also can increase public servant wages by 20%. And now I want to tell you this now, that these are not numbers we're throwing out like that. Mr. Ramsey, our presidential candidate, our prime ministerial candidate, can tell you about this. We had some serious debates within the Alliance for Change. Okay? And not only did we debate, but we took the numbers, the government's estimates, and we did our scenarios. So if we cut the VAT by this, how much will it cost us? And if we increase salaries by this, this would be the cost. And so we ran the numbers and rearranging revenues and rearranging expenditures of the government. We calculated a 5.9% GDP, fiscal deficit to GDP. Now 5.9 is not bad. We are confident we can finance this within a short period of time, and I will tell you in a moment how we can do this. So I want to tell you, and I am putting my academic reputation here on the line for this, because I do have my colleagues in Barbados and so on. For example, my very good friend Winston Moore would tell me, who teaches UAE, Aaron, you shouldn't be a politician, we are supposed to be scholars. We should advise, not. But I said, I have to take a stand. This election is a crucial election. This is perhaps the most important election. Not perhaps. This is the most important election since Guyana's independence. Okay. So as a matter of fact, everything I say is actually reviewed. Okay. For you to be full professor in the United States, everything you say is reviewed by senior scholars in the profession. So I am not kidding you when I tell you, I am putting my credibility in the line and I tell you we can defend these numbers and we can finance these numbers. Okay? Now, how are we going to do it? Here we have a few pointers here. I just want to emphasize that. So after we debated internally, we ran the numbers, we took it to external review, one economist, and we took it to a chartered accountant. And they also said it is plausible and it can be done. So we took this to independent reviewers. Now, one of the ways by which we can finance this is we can rent state buildings. There's a lot of buildings. I'm from the East Bank of Demerara, so I took the East Bank minibuses many years of my life to go down to Houston. The old GNCB building there is as you can see, it's dying off. It's disintegrated. Perhaps it can be rented. We can raise money. There are lots of government buildings that break down. Could be rented in other parts of the country. We actually estimated that we can raise about $1 billion a year in rents alone, which is the recurrent income coming into the state, the government. We think we have to consider this insourcing issue seriously. We have to cut this over billion in kickbacks. Again, I want to emphasize that we do not believe we can shift everything to insource it, but at least some part of it. And some more tentative estimates will put it around $5.5 to $6 billion we can save from insourcing. Okay. We have to look at something called the slush funds and the static accounts in the estimates, right? Now the slush funds are accounts that are over budgeted, so that you can use these monies at any time to play political games. Okay? So we have to cut all these slush funds. In the estimates, they have something called static accounts. And if we cut the slush funds and the static accounts, we will have 2 years of funding to fund the deficit. Okay? Just 2 years. So I have to tell you how we'll do it beyond 2 years, right? But just to tell you, we're safe for 2 years. Okay? Now, we have to cut unnecessary advisors. Quite a few. Our presidential candidate will tell you about he has a good handle as the number of advisors we have working alone in the office of the president. So we'll have to do something there. Now, the most important in the long term, and I want to tell you this, that if we don't get this economy growing at a fast rate, well, we all better just pack and go home, okay? In the long term, in 3 years into an AFC government, the only way we can finance this is by bringing in some serious investors, okay, who will begin employing people in the officially legitimate economy. And to employ people, new jobs are created, or greenfield investments, as I call it. By greenfield, it's a new investment. Of course, earlier I told you something called brownfield investment. That is like a Chinese company coming and buying an existing bauxite asset, bauxite. Okay, that is nothing new is created. As a matter of fact, they will do all kinds of things to penalize workers and send home workers because they're coming here to make profit, to improve the operation. We want to bring in greenfield investment, and the biggest economic failure on the President Jagio is that he did not bring in many large-scale greenfield investors. Digicel is one of the only ones I can think of, at some scale, right? And this cannot be done. This economy cannot be run on a subsistence level of economics. So we got to take it beyond subsistence. Okay, so more jobs, more investments, private investments means more tax revenues for the government. This is the long-term plan, and we are absolutely confident about this, that we can get this done. So again, I want to emphasize, we calculated 5.7% of GDP deficit, which is very manageable. Okay. Now, so how are we going to, we need to have, how are we going to pay 20% in the long term? Well, we have a renewable energy strategy, it is ironic. It is ironic that the low carbon development strategy does not have a clearly specified renewable energy strategy. Okay, we have one in our action plan, and we believe that, as I told you, renewable energy or energy has high income elasticity, as economists like to say. Meaning, when people get richer, they want more energy. So, one of the ways by which we plan to do it is we will have an ethanol policy for Guyana, and we will do it by something called the E10 mandate. The E10. Now, for anyone who travels in the United States, Florida in particular, and some New York gas stations, whenever you buy gas, they'll say on the tank, 10% ethanol. Okay? Many of you would have observed this. 10% ethanol. What does that mean? It means that the Americans are mixing their gasoline that they import with 10% local corn ethanol. They use corn to make ethanol, okay, in the U.S. Okay? Now, I want to tell you the energy balance of corn is only 0.4. Corn is not the best feedstock, and then it has food implications. Right? I don't believe we should produce ethanol from corn because you're affecting the food prices of the poor, especially cultures like in Latin America that use corn a lot. Okay. However, sugarcane has an energy balance of 8.4. Scientific estimates. Sugarcane is a fantastic feedstock for ethanol. Okay. My brother-in-law, who is a PhD in chemistry, explains to me that if you take the molasses and you can get ethanol from molasses, but the yield is not as high. But if you just take the whole thing and don't make sugar and just do just ethanol, you'll have even higher yields. Okay? So we have a national, so we will go to Parliament and pass a mandate, and we'll say we have to mix imported gasoline, which in some reasonable period, with 10% Guyanese-made ethanol from sugarcane. So we have a captive market right here. It's a captive market. I would think if I had the capital, I'd invest in it. But I'm not a rich guy. I'm a professor, so so we're going to give the business people of Guyana a captive market. Talk to us when we win this election. Come and invest.